Who all went?
Haley and one of her friends, Granny and her boyfriend Gabe. Dustin is his friend, girlfriend, or whatever. And then Frankie. I mean, it's like just everything's beautiful. It is. And like 6,000. Spreadsheet.
Yeah, just so I can look at numbers as we go. About
Well,
yeah, no. I tell you, P and Z messes this whole thing up.
light that one off now.
Yeah, that's one day I'm thinking I'm just gonna show up and it's gonna be fixed. Yeah, just keep on wishing. It gets worse, but
Monkey.
one day it's
It's
gonna
still one out and it's very aggressive, they said. That's crazy, huh?
Good.
I saw that early. I thought it was fake.
You good if I
I
go ahead and
know.
get started?
Like
Yeah.
30.
Everyone good? Okay, we're gonna go ahead and call the October 28th, 2025 City Council Workshop to order. Gonna ask Councilwoman Moynihan to lead us in our prayer.
Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Gracious God, we are grateful for the opportunity to serve our community. Guide us with wisdom and strength and clarity in our decisions. Bless this meeting and our city and our shared commitment to the common good. Amen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, well, we're here to discuss the Hancock Chamber lease, as well as the Hancock County Community Development Foundation on the first floor. We'll go ahead and start with the discussion for the chamber lease, which their floor plan is the upstairs of the old City Hall. I believe, Mr. Regan, you're here to speak to it.
Good evening. My name's Regan Kane with John McDonald Realty, also past president of the Chamber of Commerce. With me is Jeremy Compretta, VP of the Hancock County Chamber of Commerce with Community Bank, and Ray Wesson, president of the Hancock County Development Foundation. First, I want to thank the council and mayor for the time this evening. Really appreciate the opportunity to speak in front of you all. And again, taking time out of, your evening to discuss this lease. At the end of August, at the request of the city, we sent you a packet of information you had requested about the chamber and foundation, which should answer most questions you may have. We entered into a lease agreement with the previous council on April 12th, 2023, and that lease expired on June 30th, 2025. We think this has been a great partnership between the chamber and the city. The previous lease was a multi-year lease with the option to renew, to lease the second floor of the historic City Hall as the office for the chamber at a monthly fee of $750 and to pay annual ad valorem taxes of around $1,600. The city has also asked us to manage the first floor as a community business resource center as a pro bono service. When we first took over the space, there were no furnishings, no internet or phone services. The chamber's made significant capital investments into the building, securing grants for furnishings and equipment totaling some $50,000 for the furnishings alone. We've been fortunate to be able to secure some grants to help underwrite some of these costs. Since April 2024, we have held 135 meetings and received $1,300 in rental funds to underwrite costs of internet, janitorial supplies, services, paper products, beverages, etc. The BRC fund at the foundation currently has a negative balance of $281.28 as being covered by the foundation. Ray Weston here, chair. We'd like to ask the mayor and council to reconsider renewing the lease agreement under the current terms, and, here for any discussion or questions the council may have for any of us or our board members who are here present.
Perfect. Thank you very much,
Yes,
Mr. Reed. And I, see the chamber and the community a lot, and I know we have a good partnership, so I'm excited for the discussion tonight. I guess we'll start with the council, if there's any questions regarding the financials. So we got two sets of financials, so we'll start with the chamber's financials first, as well as the other documentation that they came in. We'll start with Councilwoman Moynihan and work our way down, if there's any questions regarding those, and then we'll get into discussion about what we'd like to see for the building and so forth. So we'll start with you.
I don't have any questions about the
Financial.
financials. I think they're
Yes, sir.
in good order. My opinion on keeping the chamber in the building it is, I'm in favor of it.
Councilwoman Holmes?
No, at the moment, no, I appreciate you guys providing that. Tish, I think you guys sent the foundation and the chamber, so appreciate y'all getting that. I really don't have specifics as it relates to the submitted financials, but do just have some questions about some of the space, but we can get to that once everyone else gets a chance.
Yeah, perfect. No, likewise, I think it was very, very thorough. I do see where it was prepared by Mr. Jerry Farb as well with ABL, so I do appreciate it, and so I don't have any questions.
I have no questions either. Thank you for turning it in ASAP almost.
Yes, it was very prompt.
Yes.
We appreciate that.
With all
I
the
have no
info that
questions.
was needed.
It was done expeditiously.
I guess now we'll flip to the conversation, start with Ward 1. Start with Ward 2, about the discussion of the floor plan. I know you already said that you're good with the way it is and renewing, so.
Yeah, I think, I know there's, I don't hate to call it an issue, but, it's come up about the bottom floor, and I think they're making very good use of it.
So, well, we'll cover the bottom floor after the top. So we'll go through, because the chamber's on the top floor and the foundation's on the bottom, so. Councilwoman Holmes? Councilman Lewis?
Yeah, just I did have some questions as well on the bottom floor, but also as it pertains to the top. So at the current, so it's $750 a month, and we estimate that, Regan, you're probably the best at giving this answer, 1,700 square feet or so. Or Mayor, I think that may be where we had estimated what that square footage is up there.
Let's say we had, I think, 1,600 from that
I believe-
Whitehall, but whatever, 1,600,
The
1,700.
second floor is
I think
$1,597.
that's probably closer with, probably,
There's a big
Six,
safe in there,
something
whether or
like
not, they pay for the big safe, the vault that used to be in there, this, that, everything. If, when, I don't wanna bring it up as far as, but when other ones that brought it up about other areas, they did floor space. And so, floor space in this building somewhere is at around 1,600
It's,
1,700 heating and cool, which is everything up there.
yeah, so
No.
I have on the first floor 1,593 square feet, and on the second floor 1,597 square feet.
that's what we have per the architect.
So, that's what I was.
But
They came from Mike Risa.
Okay. And so I'll just use using the calculations. So with the $750 a month equates to $9,000, and then with the $1,600 a year for that valorem, and then at $1,593. So we're looking at about
$10,615.
okay, so about $646, $650 a square foot for the
Something like
top, right? Okay. And I know when we first went into this back in '22, what was partly predicated on the decision for the below fair market value was also the in-kind management and setup of the website. I think that may have been estimated around $500 a month.
I can address that. Actually, what happened is we were just supposed to manage the content of the website. And what happened was your previous contractor crashed the website, and our staff had to go in and completely rebuild the website
and I hate to interrupt, do you want to just
Come to
speak
the
so we
mic.
can get it on, yeah, so everybody watching can hear?
So,
When we were entering into the lease agreement, the city had a need for assistance with their website. They wanted to change their contractor. And when they changed their contractor crashed the website completely. Originally, we were just supposed to help you with content, and we ended up having to completely rebuild your website at no cost to you, which we were happy to do and to be a service to the city because you were in a very critical position needing to provide services to the citizens.
Right.
Since that time, you've now engaged MuniCode, and you no longer need that service because you're now using
Civic.
MuniCode as your website.
Right, and I appreciate that clarification. I recall that dialogue, and I was looking in the agreement, it's really not mapped out in detail. It does, I think there is something in there that gives a brief mention of it, didn't really get into the details. So again, so that was, well, Josh would be the only one on the council at the time in that discussion. Fortunately here, Mike, you might be remembering. So that was not predicated at all. That was, the intent was to get that up and running. The full intention was to have another group come in, so it's just to get us in the meantime? Is that kind of?
Well, yes, but they had to go back, like Tish said. Ours got hijacked for the second time, and they had to go back, rebuild everything and all, and then we went over and changed over. That took them out of the equation.
All right. And so, of course, this is in line of we've discussed consistency with our buildings, consistency with the entities that are in the buildings. I know last workshop we discussed that $5 to $6 range. You guys are obviously based on these calculations in that range, what was discussed previously. Now, I did want to discuss the first floor, but is that going to be something we'll be discussing?
Yeah, so when we bring up Mr. Ray Wesson, that'll be when we talk about it.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, I do have some more questions on that, but for now, I'm good.
Okay. Perfect. My vision for it, I know we've talked about staying consistent. I didn't know what the square footage would come out to based on what you guys were currently paying. Obviously, that's factoring in the property tax and everything to get to that amount. My approach, I'd like to propose that we change the way that it's structured and go $5 for the entire top floor, but also have a question about that building. Is it possible to put their own meter on the building to see the electricity they're using? Because the utilities and electricity includes the park, building, and everything in there, correct? So the only other way would be to flat fee or put a meter on it. Is it possible to put that on there?
Electrical work and all, I'm sure it can be done.
Yeah,
So
just
it is on that is concluding the whole park?
I'm
It's not
pretty-
just the building on
I'm
that?
pretty
No,
sure
it's everything.
It's everything.
the
Mhm.
7,500 and the 682 in utilities is the whole park and the building.
Hmm.
I could be,
that's what we were told.
Yeah.
that's what I
They couldn't divide it out.
divided up.
Right, I don't think so either.
So, I mean, I would propose if we can't get check in to see if we can't get a meter box put on there, just a flat fee. Looking at the rates, we split it up, I think maybe $150 would be reasonable for that. Along with that's for utilities and electricity, along with the $5 a square foot with the 1597 square foot, footprint, along with the property tax, it'll be on the tax roll. I don't know what the tax amount comes out to, but just with the
$1,600 for the whole building.
whole building, okay. So just with the electricity, utilities, and $5 a square foot, that puts you, it's around $815, which is just the top floors plus property tax. So that's what I kind of envisioned for it, along the lines of the consistency. I think you guys showed
What did we say square foot was, 1640?
1597 for the top floor.
1700,
So I don't know what it comes out to when you factor in the utilities.
8500.
The-
They
but
paying
I can
9
figure it
now.
out too.
Yeah.
And Jordan, just a quick question, would that, the rationale for that is to be consistent with what was discussed at the previous
Previously,
workshop
yeah.
and for the other
Yeah,
buildings?
'cause I think I mean, that would be an in-kind, rate. I think it's fair to, it's a different benefit to the community, but it still is a benefit, in a different way, but I think to stay consistent, I think the $5 a square foot flat fee for utilities, kinda like we discussed with the other one. The only cost to the city, would be property insurance and flood insurance, which, I mean, honestly, those costs will never cover because of how expensive it is. But anyways, that's what I'm thinking of. If there's any questions, but I'll pass it to Councilwoman Davis.
So you're looking to possibly lower than what they're paying now
it would-
instead of raising what Alice
would-
Mosley proposed?
It wouldn't be lower because we're factoring in a flat fee for
Right.
The utilities?
utilities and then property tax. But instead of, one number, I mean, we're gonna say it's $5 a square foot plus electric plus property tax.
So you're
So-
doing the 1597.
$15.97, $150 flat fee.
And George, do we ever land, I know there's a lot of discussion, do different buildings that probably have different levels of concerns with just the building itself, but I know we had discussed last meeting about some of the
Yeah,
maintenance.
so absolutely. So I'm glad you brought that up. So I would, same thing that we mentioned, kind of a basic maintenance of it, air filters, keeping up with everything, toiletries and stuff. I mean, we don't want that to happen. I think what we need to outline is if a toilet goes out, are we gonna send someone from Public Works or are you guys gonna call a plumber? I don't think we got any clarification with that on our last workshop either. But I think,
How is that
Is it-
working now?
so that's the way it is now.
No, it has,
A specific, yeah. So I think a basic maintenance agreement, I mean, if the elevator goes out, I know that was a discussion, and, I mean, that's a cost that ultimately would fall on us, but just like if there was a private leasing, I mean, you have rentals, if the air conditioning unit goes out, you replace it, that's one of the benefits of being a tenant.
Right.
So that would fall on the cities, or taxpayers rather, but, that's what I'm thinking. Any other questions?
So the top floor would be 7985, correct? For just, at
79.85 for the lease,
roughly
1,800.
1600 for the ad valorem,
Yeah, I could put.
and then 150 a month.
Right.
Yeah, so that makes it $950 a month to cover that, is what it goes to. With the property taxes as well as utilities, and so it's an increase.
To the city, it'd be 815,
Yeah,
basically.
to the city. That's what I was more so worried about, the cities, which is 815.
So they pay monthly 815, and right now they're paying 750 for the ad valorem, so it's almost,
Yeah. it's-
actually, might be saving a few dollars.
Well, it'll be still an increase.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But that 815's including the ad valorem.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what
I
you're
think
saying.
No,
no,
without. That's your 815s to the city.
to the city for the lease
So
and the
the
utilities.
the 950, I mean, if you wanna put the 1600 in, that's going to ad valorem.
Bottom floor remaining same, or,
What we're doing.
So we'll do that one separate.
okay,
Kinda have some
okay,
different ideas for that one.
okay.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I mean, I guess so the same issue we have in terms of the utilities and electricity with
Yeah,
with
maybe
the
that's something we can-
depot is that it's mixed in. I mean, because right now, if you just look at it from face value, we're at about 8,200 a year,
Yeah, that's,
and we're getting 9,000, so it's just covering that. But again, if it's the same situation in depot, that's the entire grounds. Same thing here. It doesn't specifically just monitor that or gauge just the building; it's the grounds as well. So I think fair enough to put at least something towards that. Yeah, that's a fixed rate.
Yeah.
and
Okay.
that 150 is also just the top floors portion. as
Right.
well.
Right.
Might be worth getting an estimate on electrician, putting a meter can in there and pulling wire straight to there.
I think that would be,
Cause they gotta have a main
Beneficial
breaker
to
in there
both
to just
parties.
pull off of and
Well,
put
we
a
talked
separate
about
meter
that
can.
before you came, and
Yeah.
we discussed that everything's running through that 1 meter right now.
Mhm. Yeah.
But I don't know if it would be economically feasible to put another meter, because
cause
it's
I
quite
go in that
expensive.
building
For
sometimes and
everything,
I know they got that air conditioning kicking full blast.
Making you comfortable. Yeah, be worth getting an estimate and see.
Yeah, no, I think that's
That way everybody knows they're not overpaying, underpaying.
Yeah,
It is
get
what
the
it is
actual cost for
at
'em.
that point, you know.
So at that point, if it's extrapolated out, then the lessee will be responsible for the full utilities,
Yes.
the full electricity.
Yeah, possibly put it in their account or whatever, get their own
Mhm.
account, you know, or something, if it was just the building that they was occupying.
We do the same for the depot, or at least see what that would
See if
cost,
we
yeah.
can try to, yeah. Depot might be trickier.
Okay. I'm good with that.
I'm good with that.
All right, any other questions about top floor? Are we all in agreement? I'll kind of recap what we're thinking. $5 for 1,597 square foot. We'll verify that that is accurate. And then we'll do 150 as a flat fee and hopefully we can get a meter box put on there so it'll be true cost. Basic maintenance, we'll outline that. And then obviously it'll be back on the tax roll. So if everyone's good with that, we'll move on to the foundation. I don't think any motion, I mean, it's a workshop.
What is
anyhow.
electricity running right now for it's the building and the park?
Park, and it's
Park.
7,500 a year.
It would just be those lights at the tennis court. We don't have lights at the
Yeah,
park.
I
So
can't
it'd just be
imagine
lights
that.
at the tennis court, right? That's the only other
That, that way I was in the
bathroom.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be that advantageous to have,
Put a meter.
I don't
have a
think
new,
we need to pay
its
for
own
like a
meter.
separate
I don't
and
think
all
so
that.
either. It wouldn't be, not for lights
Yeah.
at the tennis court that aren't on all the time or anything like that.
So I guess, I mean,
It would cost more to get an electrician
To
out
put it
there
on
to
there.
do all that. It would be a lot
guess-
of money.
I guess the only benefit to that would be to get true cost to it
Right.
and get it off of the, I mean, it probably would break even, but it would cost us to get the boxes on there,
So,
which I think was probably the holdup.
so I know
in the
this is
past.
a commercial space, and I might be off a few dollars, but I know that utility allowance for a two-bedroom house or apartment is $116, and for a three-bedroom, this is through regulations, it's $134, and if you go to a four-bedroom, you're looking at $211. So, and it's, I mean, the 1,500 would be based roughly on about a three-bedroom house or apartment.
So, I mean, I guess that'll be something we'll outline and discuss before
Yeah.
finalizing.
So-
I guess if we can just
So I
get the
think the
cost of
150
what it
is a
would be
good
to put a meter box,
Yeah.
just to see if
I'd
it's
like
even
to see a
worth it.
quote, you know,
Yeah.
see if it's worth it.
Oh.
Then we could separate all utility bills out too, better, you know, it could be Parks and Rec and pay for the meter
Meter.
that's running the
Yeah.
tennis courts and all that, we have a better
Breakdown for the whole
utilization.
budget as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
and Jordan, sorry, one other thing. So the insurance, I know, I think we had $1 million coverage for liability on that. I think that was carried. I'm trying to find that clause in the lease. Regan, do you recall? the liability?
Oh, I do.
Okay, let me see if I can find that in the lease.
I mean, we have
assuming
our
it'll be
own
the same.
policy with you as a,
The liability.
we have insurance, is that what, yeah,
Yes, and that would remain.
yeah, 100%, and that is a stipulation of the lease, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know I read it in there. I'm just trying to find it in here, but I think it was it was around $1 million.
That's what we need to ask them.
I think so.
That's what I'm scrolling. I've got.
I
Yeah, I'm
think so.
scrolling through right now. Okay, there it is. It's under. Yeah, it's $1 million in the event of one accident, and then the aggregate.
Any other discussion for top floor?
I'm good.
Well, we'll move on to the foundation, and we'll ask Mr. Ray Weston to come up, kind of give us a little backstory, and we'll kind of go through the same process as the council. Yeah.
That's
Yeah, absolutely.
Last time. So he is the president of the Hancock County Community Development Foundation. If you remember, when we entered into the agreement with the city, the agreement is between the city and the Hancock Chamber. When we were asked to put together a business plan on how the Business Resource Center would be managed, you asked us to put together a plan. We came to you, presented the plan. And one of the things that we recommended and you agreed upon was that we would utilize the Hancock County Community Development Foundation as a fiscal sponsor. so that any revenue that would be generated from the rental of the Business Resource Center would go into a separate fund, and it would be separate accounting from the chamber. Because we wanted to make sure that they would be separately accounted for. Because we didn't know how much money would actually be generated from the rents. We really have not generated that many rents from the Business Resource Center. But as Regan pointed out, we do have a separate fund under the foundation, and it's now in arrears. I think it's like $237 in the red. We have more expenses than we have revenue coming in.
And that's for the
That's
business
for
center?
Business Resource Center, paper towels, janitor services, everything that you need. We pay $1,100 a year just in internet services, because that's part of our agreement, that we're to provide internet services for the first floor.
Okay, well, any questions for either of them? And then we'll start with Councilwoman Moynihan.
Pass me up right now, please.
I'm good too. It's all
Councilman Lewis.
Yeah, just a couple. So I was trying. So Regan, you had mentioned, or Tish, or Ray, if you have this. So there was 135 meetings. Is that going back the calendar year?
From the day that we started tracking
Gotcha.
meetings,
Okay.
I believe was April 2024.
Okay, because I calculated, because of course you guys provide the Business Resource Center synopsis each month.
Right.
So I was calculating that up just from the past year, and so now it was, for some reason, maybe I missed it. There was 3 months. I was missing April, May, and June. But from what I
have
saw,
the whole packet here if you would like to have a copy of it.
okay, yeah, that'd be helpful. But from what I saw, and just using these same numbers, so it looks like it was rented out a total of 80 times. Done that from October. 74 of the 80 times was the nonprofit rates or nonprofits, and then there were 6 for-profits. And of course, we've got that kind of tiered. I think they can rent it for the half the day at 100 or the full day at 300.
Right.
So that's about about 93% of the time it was rented out to at the nonprofit rate to a lot of nonprofits. If what it looks like, a lot of these Tish may fall under the foundation, a lot of the monthly meetings, and so, when I remember Regan, I think gave the plan and vision. And the PowerPoint, I thought, did a really good job. And some of those comments was, having an area for startup businesses to learn and grow in the building would be exceptional use for the space, encourage businesses to locate or relocate offices in Bay St. Louis. I think it was even mentioned about a podcasting studio and some other things. And so just how I'm seeing it now, what the utilization is more so to the nonprofits, I kind of want to better understand how is the business side of it going? Why aren't there more opportunities for the for-profit? Is it a lack of advertising? I just kind of want to better understand, because it seems like we kind of deviated from it being, kind of a business incubator to where it's a meeting spot for a lot of nonprofits.
When we first envisioned the Business Resource Center, that's what it was. But then after we got into the actual presentation to you of how it would be managed and utilized, that became, it was no longer going to be a podcast studio. We found that remember we went and we toured the facility and we were like, oh, maybe we're going to get like cubicles to put in here and have little spaces for offices, and we realized that was going to be confining to the space, and that the space would be better utilized by the community if it was more flexible. So instead of having business partitions and little offices for businesses, we left it open and we made it more flexible, and we were able to get furnishings donated by Coast Electric that would be easily moved around for different purposes, and so that's how it's evolved.
Mm-hmm. So is that still, has it, in terms of the support of the small businesses, can you just touch upon how that's helped kind of
we have held, the chamber has held small business seminars, which we have paid rent, even though we are not required to pay rent because we are a nonprofit. But anytime we've had a small business seminar, we have paid rent to utilize the space because we felt like it was the right thing to do. So that's how we've provided some technical assistance, and the chamber provides technical assistance on a daily basis to any business that needs services for startups and referrals to information that can help them with their business.
Mm-hmm. And would you say, Tish, a number of these, the rentals, from what I've seen, just kind of looking at what falls under the foundation, a lot of these meetings are part of the foundation, Hancock County Foundation. Would you estimate that being accurate? the
What I
handicap
would say is that we don't need to utilize the space because we do have an upstairs conference room that could be used for all of the meetings that we need. But from an accessibility standpoint for the community, it's much more accessible and easier for our citizens if they can actually walk into a first floor meeting facility and use that facility versus walking upstairs or coming in and taking the elevator up.
Mhm.
So it's just an accessibility issue. We don't have to use that space, but it's just been more convenient for our citizens to utilize that space.
So it's not necessarily needed, because that would be one of two recommendations. In looking at how it is being utilized, my recommendation would be either the chamber or the foundation, based on the same rate that we just discussed for the second floor, rent that first floor, and then at that point being utilized in whatever way, whether that's a business resource center or meeting area for a lot of nonprofits, whatever the case may be, but paying that same rate for the first floor as a second. Because I think it kind of deviated a little bit, and that's, look, I get it. I mean, things change, visions change, but it does seem like it is being utilized mainly for a meeting spot. Again, a lot of nonprofits, and so that's going to be the case. I'd recommend either foundation or the chamber just meet the same $5 a square foot for the first floor, and going from there. Is that something that sounds like you?
I
would
think the last
need
time we talked about this, we said, you know what, we are managing this as a community service, as a pro bono service to the city. And so we don't have to have that space. And if you all want to take the space over and manage it yourself, then we're okay with that because we can use the upstairs conference room.
Gotcha.
But if you need us to manage it as a community service, I think it's been a great partnership. I think it's been a beautiful space to bring to the community, to give them the opportunity to have meetings and events there. And the other thing to recognize too is that nonprofits are made up of private sector citizens who are doing good work for the city at no cost to the city. And they are providing services that otherwise might be unmet, or the city might have to provide those services. So I think it's a really good use of the space. And I think over time, we may see more private sector utilization of it, which might lead to more rent income.
Because it sounds like you're not, with the rent income, you're in arrears, so it's not really even meeting the needs to stock the toilet paper and paper towels, right, and clean it. That's what it kind of sounds like, right?
The foundation is
Having to
supplementing the loss at this time. You know, but that's not, I mean, this is also a new opportunity for the community. And so I think, hey, give it some time and see where it goes. I still think it's needed. It's a very beautiful space for people to come and have events and meetings, and I think it's been put to good use, and I think there's still greater use that can be seen if given the chance for the citizens to utilize it for what it was meant to be.
I think and that was back in 23, I think, right, that we went into that amendment. It's been
Yes,
a couple,
I believe it was.
couple years. So I guess this is more towards the council. You know, do we want to treat this as, hey, first right of refusal, essentially, if the chamber or foundation is interested at that same rate? If not, how do we want to utilize that space? Are you good with it the way it's being utilized now, or do we want to utilize the space similar to what we're doing with the depot, having one entity up top and then having another entity on the bottom?
All right, and let me just interject this because this is something that I didn't think
one
about.
second, Tish. I don't know if there's any other comments.
You
from
know,
the council
so
on that.
Okay.
I got a handful of questions as well.
Okay,
I'd
that's
like-
yeah.
I'll let you-
Okay.
The only other point I will make is that this is something that we didn't think about when we first went into this lease agreement, is that there are security issues when you have more than one entity in that building because of the elevator.
Right.
And so, you know, what would happen is if the chamber did not have full use of the first floor, then there would be accessibility issues. Because then if another tenant came in there, if we had someone who needed accessibility because they were disabled, they would not be able to come up to the second floor conference room. They would not be able to come up to the second floor chamber office because they would not have access to the elevator from the first floor. So there's a security issue of, you know, we have people coming in and out of there and making sure that the chamber is secure, which the elevator creates a security issue for that as well. So that's just something to think about. It's difficult to, even though I thought we could divide the two, I think it does, you have to look at it from a security standpoint and accessibility standpoint too.
And I think
That's
you have
fine.
that same thing with the
That's
depot,
fine.
though, right? There's direct access. You have to go through the first, I mean, obviously the first floor, go
Yeah.
up to those
There's a
businesses and the
separate
second, so-
entrance at the depot.
Yeah.
And there's,
You can
but
go
there's
in a separate
outdoor-
door to
there's
get
still-
upstairs.
Still separate entrances though to get in,
I
correct?
think you can lock the door to that middle section, because the elevator is,
In the middle.
in the middle, and then there's kind of like a storage around the back on that first floor. So, like currently, I went in there, I was hoping to try to see the Mardi Gras Museum where the
Mhm.
visitor center was, and that door was locked, so all I had access to was the elevator and a little storage closet around the back.
Gotcha.
But-
Okay.
Yeah, that elevator has a separate
Yeah.
Yeah.
Entrance,
Yeah.
or the one at the chamber.
That's why I was really proponent for y'all taking the whole building at that time, was because,
And we tried,
yeah, separating it before it didn't work
we
out.
tried
Right.
two things in the building, and that was a nightmare.
Yeah, and noise upstairs and
Right.
everything
exactly.
else.
Well, and I'm a proponent of the chamber occupying both first and second, but I do want to discuss setting the rates for the first floor. But I'm sorry, Jordan.
Yeah,
you
no,
had
you're
some
fine.
questions.
I have a couple more questions as well, if you don't mind. So as far as the small business seminars that you mentioned, so that's like the social media classes that I've seen offered and all through that, correct? So
Yes.
I've seen what those are. I think those are beneficials. But one of my questions is, what do you see from the original to now as a future use for that space? Is it kind of, do you still want to pursue some of those? I'd like to see some of the original, not all, I mean, podcast room that
Mhm.
might be out of reach, but I was reading about how it's a place where if a young entrepreneur is wanting to start a business, it's a place he can go for resources and stuff like that. So I don't know if that's something that y'all would like to include in the future to keep it a business center. So my question is, what do you see as a future use for it?
I think the current use is definitely a viable use for the city. And as we bring on more partners, like one of the partnerships that we've been talking about is with the library to utilize their resources for businesses and to actually have a library of resources for business entrepreneurs to come into the Business Resource Center. All of these things can be developed over time if given the opportunity.
I just want,
This is what we've been able to do so
So
far in this limited time frame. You know, if given the time and given the opportunities and working with all of you
Yeah.
to create the opportunities, you know, it can be endless of what we could accomplish together.
I just wanted to make sure, I guess it wasn't just gonna become the meeting space, and there was still some future plans for, being a business center. So that was the
Mhm.
main reason for making sure that there are some plans there. But also, as far as, so I know this is from the original lease, and the reason I ask this is because whatever I suggest, it's gonna really depend on this one. When the funds are collected from when someone rents that
Mhm.
space, that money is sent to the city, correct?
No, it is not.
It's retained by.
It is
the-
retained by the foundation, which is the fiscal sponsor for the Business Resource Center funds that are collected.
Okay.
And then any expenses that are needed to operate the center are taken from that fund at the foundation.
I saw I wasn't sure how that was set up. I haven't seen the original lease either, but really that's all my questions I'll ask.
Yeah, and the lease agreement does not detail that. That's what we came back later. The lease agreement basically says that the chamber will put together a plan on how the Business Resource Center will be managed and operated.
Yeah.
And then that we would come back to the city council, which we did, and present the plan and ask for your endorsement of the plan, which the former council did too. And we could certainly come back and since we have a new council, we can come back and present that plan to you.
Anything, Councilwoman Davis?
Just, this isn't really a chamber question, this might be. In conjunction with using it as that, but then again, it might be a security issue.
Mhm.
Could it be used as a small venue?
For meetings and events?
No, for a small engagement party or a baby shower.
So
something
one
like
of the
that.
things that we set out when we first agreed to this is that it would really be more for, you know, business-related meetings and events, and that we weren't really opening it up to baby showers and bridal
So no
showers
open
and,
venue, just
yeah,
strictly.
it's
I think
more,
you get to
they
after-hour
did that.
events and weekends, opening and closing doors, and
Right.
all that stuff.
and we do have some limited
Just
after-hours events, but
Mhm.
it's mainly, you know, at meetings that are happening like 9 to 5 and by appointment. Because we have to staff it. You know, we have to be there to open and close the doors and make sure that everything is in working order and clean properly.
I would say if that was city managed, I mean, that's obviously something, but being it's a business center, I don't,
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Councilman DeSalvo, any questions?
I'm just doing some numbers and kind of what Kyle said, but I was thinking maybe half price for the first floor, $250 a square foot, puts the total rent to the city by $11.48 a month, which is still below the $12.50 we originally set out a couple years ago, but 500 of that $12.50 was in kind for website services that
Mm-hmm.
is no longer needed. So that's just kind of my thought on that. And just let them, the whole building's theirs for that price, and they're not managing the bottom floor for the city no more, or none of that stuff. It's yours to maintain for the current use you're doing for nonprofits and all, so I want to see there still. But then it's just y'all's to do that, and there's no security issues, nobody else coming and going in the building, and keep it to one entity. Would be kind of my thoughts on that. So would that be $11.48 a month plus the $1,600 a year you said in Avalorum?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that includes the utility bills in that $11.48.
Okay.
So that's
So one that, Josh, it's funny you brought that. I had a very similar idea with that. I'll give Councilman Smith the chance to talk first. I'm sorry.
And my reasoning for the half is it's still going to be a benefit to nonprofits and the community and everything else. And it wouldn't be them managing it for the city or anything else like that. It would just be to them, but it'd still be a benefit to the small businesses. And I think the community development, we got a boardwalk down to the beach down there that was funded through your organization. I mean, y'all do a lot for the city. It's a great organization and a lot for everybody. The Chamber's a great organization, so definitely want to see what we can do to make y'all stay there. So
Thank
Josh,
you.
just to clarify, you're saying 250 for the first floor in
250 a
addition,
square foot for
in
the
addition to
first
the
floor.
5 on the top?
Yes, correct.
Well, I'm old, and the old adage, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I think it's perfect the way it is. I mean, quibbling over halvening the amount and adjusting this, that, and the other is really not necessary. I think that we're sitting in a perfect situation right now with the council. I agree with everything Ms. Williams said, and kudos to her and the job that they do for the city. The ribbon cuttings, the podcast, everything that they do for the city. I don't know that we necessarily have to charge anything for the bottom. Just leave it as it is. And that's my thoughts on it.
Well, I kind of, whenever kind of going off of what Councilman DeSalvo said, whenever I looked at this and I kind of punched in, I was under the impression whenever a for-profit business used the space that, you know, the money was eventually collected and then sent to the city. So what I was going to suggest was the nonprofit side, that meeting space, I think that's a benefit to the city big time. I think the business center, if we can, you know, still have some potential use of it in the future, you know, I think that's a benefit as well. But what I was going to suggest is we change it this time, and when for-profit businesses come in there, you guys would keep it, but that's the way it already is now. But I was just thinking it might motivate some more businesses to come there as a meeting space with y'all being able to collect this. I agree with Josh going to splitting the cost, but I also had splitting the utility rate at $75. So it puts that cost of $406 for the first floor. I think the total comes out to $1222. We're gonna round it $1220. But that's kind of what I envisioned. I don't think it would be fair to put the full $5 on the chamber, especially with the benefit from, as much as it benefits, given we're supporting nonprofits with both of these leases that were, with the with Alice Mosley and the depot, and this one with the chamber. So I think we should be able to support all of them by giving them a space for them to meet. But the for-profit side of it, I know that is intended to offset costs, but I think that justifies kind of, in my mind at least, splitting it. So I agree with Councilman DeSalvo, but that's actually what I had on here. Anyone else?
I disagree. I think the benefit that the services that the foundation offers for the city is well worth them maintaining the downstairs with what they're doing now. They're providing full internet service for the entire building,
But
and
the
that's
internet
not
would be-
cheap.
But the internet would be for the, if you get internet for the top, it's gotta be for the bottom too.
We
Is
have
that
two
right?
separate internet
Oh, you have two
services,
separate-
yeah.
okay.
One is upstairs and the other one is down. It's
Gotcha.
two separate services.
Yeah. So, I think it's, I think the city is getting their money's worth.
I agree.
So we have Councilman Smith and Councilwoman Moynihan to keep it the way it is. Councilman Holmes.
I agree with them. I don't really see the need to have two separate if they're gonna take it all over. So just leave it the way it is.
So just charge for the top. On the bottom, okay. Yeah, Holmes.
I mean, they plan. Now we can talk about how much you want to charge a flat rate, but I think it should just be a flat rate.
Exactly.
And then Councilman
Yeah, I agree with Josh and Jordan on it. Of course, as I previously mentioned, I think the utilization of that space should be equal, or I can make some concessions to even half of what the top floor is. Of course, perhaps that'll spur on more of an opportunity to have more for-profits to meet there and get that business plan to where that can help offset some of that cost. Because again, it's still, those meeting spaces, it is still wear and tear on a building. So I think being able to, we're never gonna fully capture our expenses on it, no matter what. But we can chip in as much as we can to mitigate that the expense to the taxpayers. So I agree. I think maybe doing an off, as Josh mentioned, $250 for that first floor. Again, that might encourage maybe that business center to have more profits that can help cover some of that cost. Because like I said, it's at about 93% of the time it's rented to nonprofits at a nonprofit rate. So maybe that would spur on, trying to get some more private businesses in there and help offset some of that. So I'm in agreement with that recommendation.
That's where, obviously, I mentioned I agreed with him as well. No pressure.
No pressure. So, if we charge for the bottom, they don't need it.
Right. We
So
could lose it.
then they're gonna back out on that part, so we're not offering it to anybody.
Right.
It's closed up, and then we'll just worry about security of the elevator if somebody would rent the bottom, which I know you can do a locking on the elevator, if that comes down to it.
Would that be something, would the 250 be something that,
I cannot speak for the chamber board.
Chamber
The-
board.
the- I
is
guess
something that we could
what-
send back?
Regan would like to recommend is that you come up with what you want to offer as a lease agreement to us, the chamber, and we will then go back to our board and
Absolutely.
ask them what they would like to do. It would have to be a decision of our board.
Even with those numbers, you're still below the 1250 we originally agreed upon a couple of years ago. It just becomes more dollars paid in the city than the in-kind of the website service. So you're still not seeing a real increase, and you have the whole building, and I almost think it needs to be all or nothing, is my opinion. And
Good point.
I love the chamber. I'm part of the chamber. I appreciate them. I just think that moving forward, being fair, looking at these buildings, how much money we losing every year on them, we got to see what we can do to try to recoup as much as we can. Most private businesses wouldn't lose that much money on a building every year, and but y'all a great service. I appreciate y'all. So don't take it wrong when I say that. I just think business on them buildings, we need to look at it because they cost us a lot to have sitting there. And
And we're fortunate to have these historic buildings.
we are. And no entity, whether it's the chamber, whether it's out, supports 100% of the citizens that pay for it. A lot of citizens don't use the chamber, don't go to Mosley, don't do any of that stuff. So at some point, a lot of people are paying for something they're not getting the benefit from, you know. So that's just the reason I think going forward we need to be looking at the dollars and cents of it too, and not just from our heart, you know. That's just my thought on it.
Do we open it up for them to speak?
Go ahead. You wanna?
That's, right now, I'd have to say
I
as
will let
is.
Jordan open it up before we decide anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak?
Good conversation, you know, but why is it incumbent on Bay St. Louis to be solely responsible for the Hancock County Development and the Hancock Chamber? I mean, we're discussing this like we own it, but we just a part owner of it.
No,
You know,
Good point.
have they reached out? Is somebody competing to get the chamber in their building? Or I'm missing something because I just don't, it's not incumbent on 12,000 people. We got 47,000 people in our county.
Yeah, no, I see a lot, not speaking for the chamber, but I see a lot of chamber events are predominantly in Bay St. Louis. I mean, they
Well,
actually have to
all the
try to-
chamber events I see, you gotta pay to go to them.
It is a membership.
Yeah, right.
membership.
So I don't see, you know, that part of it. I just don't see how that benefits the common person. I mean, I don't follow it that close, but I haven't seen much of anything that wasn't a fundraiser.
Yeah, well, I think personally, I guess from my view, I know they have over probably close to 200 events during a calendar year, whether that's a ribbon cutting or.
But they charge
after
for ribbon
hours.
cuttings, don't they?
No.
You do not? Okay.
No.
Well,
So,
don't get mad, but
so-
don't talk to me, you're out of line.
a
Tell her the rules.
Yeah, we got to address the council. So, with that being said, I think there is an economic benefit whenever.
But it may be, I'm not gonna argue that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, why is it incumbent on Bay St. Louis?
So we need to go talk to Diamond
No,
Head.
we don't.
No,
They should.
Go talk to Diamond Head, Waveland, and the county.
Why would I do that?
No, I agree with you that they should go after help, but
Well,
I
I think before we make a decision, we need to see what the value is to the other cities. Because if we're the only one paying, I don't get it. I just really don't understand that.
I think when you look at what we're trying to achieve here with both of our buildings, you have the Hancock Chamber is the chamber for the whole county, but it also is the chamber for Bay St. Louis. I know it's for the whole county, just like.
Well, their membership is scattered throughout the county from what I understand.
Yeah, no, it is. It absolutely is. But the same thing with when it was here, the visitor center, it was the Hancock Visitor Center. The county was helping out, but predominantly a lot of the costs were
But you know,
burdened upon us.
Mr. President, do we have a 3-minute rule?
I didn't set it. We're probably close to it.
what
but
are you suggesting I sit down?
I'm
Well,
not suggesting, sir, I'm just
it's
saying
just
that we
our
have some
procedure.
rules that we just passed.
We'll give Mr. Ward another minute.
There's some dialogue.
Well, there wasn't
There
any
was
way
some
to get on the agenda. But anyway, that's my biggest question is why y'all are owning this when actually we got Diamond Head, we have Waveland, and of course the county gives them money too, which is our money. And, you know, they're funded with 911. There's all these things that go on in the county that are interlocal agreements to fund fairly, pro rata. And somehow we keep coming to the consensus that it's our responsibility. Like I said, if there's other people competing for them to take their building and we're in a competition, I don't know, but I don't see it, you know?
I think when it comes down, from my viewpoint, council, feel free to say whatever you want. I think comes down to a best use of space for us. I think,
Well, the building,
the building.
but
and-
when it comes to the in-kind, that's fine, they wanna use the building, but when it comes to the in-kind, why is it incumbent on the citizens of Bay St. Louis to pay for that?
I think that's what we're all elected for, is to have the trust from the public. And I think our willingness to do the in-kind is because we see a benefit of the chamber. It's not, from a Bay St. Louis standpoint, if someone on the council doesn't see or doesn't believe that the chamber benefits the businesses in Bay St. Louis, I understand it benefits the whole county. But if we don't believe it benefits Bay St. Louis, then I tell you to vote no. And if you vote yes.
Yeah, you're kind of avoiding the question. The question is why aren't we trying to have a collective support? Why is it just, why is
I
it just the people that have this address?
I think it's-
Mr. President, is it a minute yet?
Yeah, it has been a minute. But
Thank you.
I do think it's our
Okay.
willingness.
Excuse me? Excuse me, sir?
I'm gonna walk out, Larry,
I wished you would, because your time is over.
but
It's
he's the
done.
president.
He is.
We just established this last meeting, but that's fine.
That's
I'm not gonna
what we
argue
did.
with you here. But
We-
anyway,
You
you
don't
got
have
my
to
point.
argue with me, sir.
I understand.
I'm telling you, your time is up, and don't put your hand in my face.
I'll do whatever I want, Larry. It's a public meeting. You have no authority.
Well,
I
thank
do,
you.
sir.
thank you. I will say the only reason I let it go longer is I had a lot of dialogue there.
Yeah, that was a
versus,
back and forth conversation, in
versus
my
just
opinion.
listening. But I
To
do.
explain some of my reasoning, Mr. Rod's leaving, but the chamber does add value. And if we get economic development in Hancock County, they're still gonna come to Bay St. Louis and spend money and generate sales tax in our city. I mean, so, like I said, we got a $300-something-thousand boardwalk that we use for match on a couple $1 million projects. I mean, there's lots of benefits that we get from it. Mr. Ward may not own the business and don't see the benefit, but that's
And
that's
I'm sure
fine
he's not a
also,
member.
But to the benefit, businesses join it and pay the fees because they see a value in it, is why they join and pay fees. It's,
Exactly.
I've been to ribbon cuttings, I've had them. You go there, you meet other business owners that don't know what you do, you make contacts, and that's what small businesses thrive on, is that networking system that the chamber offers and provides to these businesses in town. Because you look at our city, we don't have big industry. We don't have a bunch of Fortune 500 companies or grocery stores on every corner. We have small mom and pop businesses that make up our community, and that's what the chamber supports, and we need that.
Yeah, personally,
One thing, if I may.
Yeah.
Josh, you mentioned about the
Mike,
foundation.
talking.
You mentioned about the foundation, with the boardwalk, different things. It's not the only thing they've
Oh, I
contributed
know,
to.
that's definitely.
They've contributed quite a bit to numerous other things, along with the pickleball courts and everything else. So, I mean, yes, it's Hancock County, and they make their donations and throughout the county and all, but Bay St. Louis has been very grateful to them on numerous projects and all.
Yes.
I'm proud that we have the chamber housed in Bay St. Louis, and I think that's also reflective on, I don't know what the exact percentage is, but I would almost bet that more than 60 to 75% of their events are in Bay St. Louis. They almost, I don't want Diamond Head or Waveland to see this, but they almost have to try to go out their way for businesses in those areas. But I also think that's a point that businesses want to be in Bay St. Louis. So I think that I believe there's a great partnership between
And-
the two.
They also help to contribute toward getting us grants.
Yeah, that is well.
And that's a tremendous financial benefit for the city that we get from no one else.
We just got almost $15,000 in grants from Visit Mississippi to market the area through Port Air Space Day in the Bay, Bud and Burgers in the Bay, and the upcoming Parade of Homes that will happen in March. So we just got that news last week.
Good.
Thank you.
Good.
So, and a lot of people seem to forget too that Bay St. Louis, old school wise, was the county seat. And that you also, I hope I do not offend anybody by saying this, but Bay St. Louis is the heartbeat of Hancock County. So,
I'll be completely honest. There's several things throughout Bay St. Louis that I wish we had more support from county, Diamond Head and Waveland with. But when you look at the county, they help us out with other things and other areas to offset it. So it's more so, I wish Diamond Head and Waveland would step up on some of these, county things, but unfortunately, we can't control that. We can control what we do as Bay St. Louis. So I think it's what we're comfortable with, and that's what we're here to decide. And if we're comfortable with it, do it. And if the
And
public doesn't like it, quite frankly, in 3.5 years, it's election time. So,
Well, and
Mr. John, I'm sorry.
also, I think that, you know, Bay St. Louis is thriving right now over the last several years. Really thriving. Like, people want to, clamoring to be here. And that's because of the work that the chamber has done for the last 100 years.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I think we need to acknowledge that and offer some incentive to keep them here.
Exactly.
Well, and just kind of, again, since the new council started, the common theme was consistency and how can we ensure the fair, firm and consistent on all of our properties. Of course, I agree with Josh on a couple different items, one being that, yeah, we do. I mean, again, I don't think anyone's disputing of the current occupant there. I think it's, right in the proximity of the school. Not everything's going to work there. I mean, there's been a restaurant, there's been things tried. I think back in our day on the council, Josh, in 22, there's an offer just for that first floor. I want to say it's in the neighborhood of $1,000. Now, would that have been the most conducive use of that space, or that worked in harmonious with the school? I don't know. And so, but with all that being said, we talked about, again, we have to mitigate our risk and at least chip into what our expenses are. What the second floor is $9,000. I think we've already established, based on the electricity and the Mississippi Power bill, bulk of that probably is because there's lights on the tennis court, is from that building. So how can we at least cover that $250 and going in line with what was supposed to be in kind on the website that would really just kind of offset that? So I agree with that comment too, Josh. So I think it just puts us in an attempt to, again, be the best stewards of tax dollars and at least eat down that expense and cost while still supporting the entity that's there, but we're still being obviously cognizant of how can we ensure that, one, that it's the best utilization, and again, at least pay down some of those expenses. So I think we've kind of gone through what the thoughts are on that. So I guess at this point, Jordan, next step would be getting the proposal to him.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Yes.
I'm going to bring up Mr. Johnessy. Should have had a sign-up sheet for this meeting. Do apologize.
John Oman, 110 Demont Wilson Avenue. I don't have an iron in this fire, but I think it's pretty obvious, as Madam Councilwoman Holmes has pointed out, and others as well, that this thing works pretty doggone well.
Yes.
The arrangement is, I don't think could be better. Excuse me. And to put that in jeopardy, to try to coordinate something between Waveland, Diamond Head County, and Bay St. Louis seems to me a risk you don't want to take. Thank you.
You're right.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you, sir.
Could I ask one question to Ms. Tish or to Ray or Mr. Regan? Is $12.50 just too much for y'all or not? I mean, I know you gotta go back to the board. Yes, I understand. But I just want to see what y'all thoughts was on that. I know we all want it as cheap as we can get it, human nature. So, but I just wanted to see if it was a realistic number, just like we asked Mosley if they could actually afford the proposal, or if they couldn't, and
Yeah.
see where it was at,
We will have to take this back to our board to get their input, but obviously, if there's an increase,
Yeah,
then we have to find a way to pay
to
for it.
cover. Yes, ma'am. Okay.
So yeah, just
Okay,
propose it, and
yeah.
if
So,
we need to, we'll counter it.
I guess one last time, just for clarification, because there were some additional comments. I know Councilman DeSalvo, myself, Councilman Lewis, were for the splitting the cost on the bottom, mainly out of knowing that there's some costs that we need to try to offset, which was kind of the viewpoint when going through all these proposals. and with some consistency there to cover those costs and kind of working with it because it all needs to go as one. And then Councilwoman Davis, Councilwoman Holmes, Councilman Smith, and Councilwoman Moynihan are okay to leave it the bottom floor as is, at no fee. Is that, everyone still feel the same way, or
Yes,
anyone want to change one way or another?
I stand firm.
Stan?
I'm not totally against the proposal. I just don't see the need to have two separate, like, utility bills and whatnot, if you're
I
doing
mean,
the flat rates.
it would be
Just
one,
include it in one, yeah,
one bill.
rate.
But I think the discussion is that, do we want it to be $815 a month or $1,200 a month? Do you want to include the bottom floor in that monthly fee, or just charge for the top and then don't charge anything for the bottom floor plan?
And as Tish mentioned, anytime they use it, they rent it. So we're still getting fees from that end, even though we're not charging them monthly. If they ever use it, they're still paying, right?
Well,
We're
not,
not, the city doesn't
The
get
city
that.
No.
Okay.
yeah, 93% of the time it's not.
And they
there's
don't
no
rent
fees
it enough
associated.
for
Yeah.
profit,
They're actually in the negative.
my understanding.
So nonprofits pay zero, Ms. Tish?
For-profit can pay, according to the agreement that the previous council did approve,
For a 3-hour rental for a for-profit, it's $100, and for an all-day rental, it's $300. And then if they do not clean the building, then they have to pay a janitorial fee of $100. And that's for nonprofits and for-profits. But everybody's been taking really good care of the building, and we haven't had to deal with that at all.
So let me just ask one question on that. Does the chamber advertise the downstairs as a meeting place for profit?
I think that we could do a better job of advertising it as a meeting facility. I think we could do a better job
Or
of
could
that.
could another entity do that for you? You know,
We'd have to pay them.
or, yeah, okay. So, but somebody off the street could come up and say, Ms. Williams, we'd like to rent the bottom floor.
Oh, absolutely. Anybody
Okay.
can rent the bottom
Okay,
floor.
so it's not incumbent upon you having to promote the downstairs?
If anybody is going to promote it, it's going to be the chamber through our communication system. I don't know of anybody else that really is taking that on as their responsibility. I think we could do a better job of promoting that,
Okay.
as an option for businesses and nonprofits to rent. Nonprofits do not pay, for-profits do pay. We need more for-profits to pay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because right now,
That'd be good.
Yeah, I guess that was
we're in the
also,
red.
that was also kind of my thought process, is trying to, I don't want to say motivate, but it might push for some more for-profits using that space with some cost, but,
Yeah, promoting, yeah.
that's another option to consider.
We really have only been doing this, for 2 years now, with this facility. So, most businesses take 3 years, right, to get up and running. So maybe we just need to give it a little bit more time to see how we can really promote it to get more revenue generated from for-profit rentals. Maybe that might create a different situation for y'all to consider. I mean, of course, I would like to see it remain the same with no fee on the first floor. Of course, I would want that, especially since we are paying more in expenses than we are actually generating in revenue.
it's also, I know we already talked about, but one thing I was looking at too is, outweighing the benefit of having the business center, or if the city were to maintain it, we put a lock and renting it out as an additional space and still letting nonprofits do it for free. So I do appreciate that there are some future use for a business center, and as far as, I know you partnering with the library as well, but also having some resources for a small business, if that could maybe send us something over, and I'll share it with the council to see what that plan is. But if nobody else, if everyone else is still firm in the way they feel, guess that will be what we do is
Adjourn?
we'll get a recap of this and then send something over, and y'all can accept or not bring it to your board. So
I do have one more thought.
While we're here.
While we're here. Suppose, we put if the chamber or the foundation, lets us know what it costs to run downstairs, as far as, cleaning and toilet paper and things of that nature. And then if you really go after promoting renting this to the private sector and, cap it at a threshold. If anything over $5,000, that covers your costs to do this, then you pay the city a percentage of what you would collect.
So one of the things that I think the reason why the previous council decided to not charge a fee for the first floor is because the realization that the chamber was putting human resources against the management of that first floor. So this is like an in-kind service that you're not paying for, okay? So we have a staff person that takes the calls, books the building, shows the building, makes sure the building is open and closed and clean. So there's staff resources that the chamber is providing at no cost to the city to manage and oversee the management of that. That's not being calculated in any of the fees that we've talked about.
how many nonprofit meetings was it?
Well, based on from October to October, that was missing May, June, and July, but it's 80 for those 9 months. 6 of which were for profit, from what I can tell. So probably in the neighborhood of just over 100, I think, with some
So
of
with
that data.
Tish, do you think there'd be an objection from most of the nonprofits if you charge $20 for nonprofits to use it, or would that be an issue with a lot of them?
When we looked at this the last time, it was like, you know what, it's just not worth it to go chase $20. It would cost more money to try to chase down somebody for a $20 bill than it's worth it. Just the paperwork and the processing of that. So yeah, you could do it, but it also will it would require a human resource to manage it. And that's why we just said, you know what, let's just not charge nonprofits. They're doing a service for our community, and charge the for-profit because they have the resources to do that.
Well, any other
Thank you.
comments, questions?
Thank you, Tish.
Okay. Thank y'all. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I will. No, we can't have motions at this. I don't have a motion on the agenda, but anyway, we'll go ahead and adjourn our October 28th, 2025 City Council Workshop. Meeting's adjourned.